The high-voltage power lines fell into the pool. Little girl named Emma was trapped in the middle of the water. Emma's nanny tried to rescue her but was killed by electrocution. At that moment, the girl's father rushed out. Buck stopped him from jumping in. He ordered them to keep Emma on the raft. The couple hurried to calm their daughter's emotions, but the power couldn't be cut off temporarily. Then Buck saw an inflatable killer whale.
Did you get that from the Macho Handbook? That's insane.
Yeah, there's no way that book actually exists.
Actually, give me your knife.
Abby got a knife from him. She sliced off the metal nozzle of a rubber hose, and they stretched it across the pool so Emma could grab it. An explosion crackled behind Buck, but he and Abby kept on moving until Emma reached the edge. Abby carefully took her hand and quickly lifted her out of the water. Emma was finally out of danger. Immediately after, the Department of Water and Power shut off the electricity, followed by some firefighters. The boy was playing and fell into the laundry chute, his body twisted, unable to breathe. Just a moment ago, a boy shouted for help. It turned out that two brothers were playing hide-and-seek. The older brother hid in the laundry chute and accidentally got stuck inside. To make matters worse, the boy twisted his neck and was quickly unable to breathe. The firefighter immediately confirmed the rescue location. They had to break through the wall. Then they prepared to cut the chute. At that moment, their mother returned home, now her younger son crying uncontrollably. Seeing her son's twisted body curled up in the narrow chute, the mother was dumbfounded. The captain immediately stepped forward to comfort her. Fortunately, the mother regained her composure. The boy was soon successfully rescued, but he was already in shock. Firefighters immediately rushed him to the hospital for treatment. Unfortunately, though, they couldn't save him. This boy's head was lodged in a railing on a balcony, and the railing was collapsing. His mother was clinging desperately to the railing for dear life. If she let go, he would fall to his death. Just as the railing slipped from her grasp, Kelly climbed the ladder and caught him. Meanwhile, two firefighters arrived just in time, grabbing the railing, but the iron was very heavy, and any slight mistake could hurt the boy's neck. At the critical moment, Casey came up with an idea. First, they used a rope to secure the railing, then employed a hammer to create an anchor point on the doorframe. They tied the rope to the hammer to temporarily stabilize the railing. Next, they cut the railing and rescued the boy. He appeared unharmed, and Sylvie checked his neck. The boy's mother begged Kelly not to send him to the hospital, but Kelly explained that it wasn't his decision. Sylvie informed her that she had decided to take him to the hospital for a checkup. At the hospital, Sylvie discovered the boy's file was flagged by CPS because his mother had lost custody of him 3 years earlier due to abuse. Sylvie watched in horror as social workers entered the hospital and took the boy away from his mother. The pool water suddenly glowed red as an eruption from the underlying volcano sent lava surging, instantly transforming the water into a scorching inferno. Despite the urgency to flee, blaring music drowned out a companion's warning, leading one man to leap into the boiling pool. Onlookers witnessed in horror as the man's ill-fated decision unfolded, with his friend attempting a rescue, but only managing to grip a layer of damaged skin. As the rescue team arriving swiftly quelled the flames but could not save the man. The team's medic promptly attended to the injured, providing first aid before transporting the woman to the hospital. However, the unfolding chaos took another cruel turn as the ground violently shook, triggering a second eruption from the submerged volcano. Volcanic rock struck the man's chest, adding another layer of tragedy to the disaster.
It's melting.
According to it.
Just moments ago, the paramedics had received a call. Two elderly people were in trouble. It wasn't until the old lady asked her husband to show them what happened that they witnessed the shocking scene. Larry's intestines had actually fallen out of his body. He explained he had recently undergone abdominal surgery. Feeling stifled in the hospital, he came to the park for some fresh air, but he overlooked his allergies. After just a couple of rounds in the park, he had a severe pollen allergy. His nose started itching like crazy and he began sneezing uncontrollably. His stitches suddenly burst open. The paramedics quickly treated the wound, while Larry desperately tried to hold back his sneezes. However, sneezes aren't something you can just suppress. Seeing this wouldn't work. The paramedics also couldn't stuff the intestines back in, as it might contaminate the abdominal cavity. After a brief discussion, they came up with a solution. They injected him with anti-allergy medication, while moistening sterile pads with saline solution to wrap around Larry's intestines, providing the most basic protection. Finally, they wrapped gauze around his waist several times. All that left was to transport him to the hospital for cleaning and suturing. Firefighters were called to a school bus accident.
swear to God it wasn't my fault. The truck, I smelled something burning back here, then suddenly, boom.
Silver bullets on this truck.
On it. This way.
When they arrived, Lieutenant Casey walked into the bus. He found 2 boys trapped inside. One boy named Luca had a steel rod pierced through his clavicle, pinning him in his seat. The other boy was also stuck, but appeared to be in better shape. After examining Luca, paramedic Dawson said Luca's clavicle was broken. The steel rod was embedded deeply in his body, and moving it without care could result in life-threatening injuries. The second boy was unable to breathe at this moment. They needed to rescue him first. Dawson kept comforting Luca, telling him to be brave, and then told him to hold her hand. The firefighters cut the steel rod and freed Luca, then secured him on a stretcher and transported him to the ambulance. There was an overturned cement truck in the street.
I saw the whole thing from up there. He hit someone. What? He was going too fast. Swerved to miss a woman walking in the street, but he hit her.
A girl had been trapped in the cement before she was run over. Firefighters Bowden and Kelly hurried forward to check on the girl, while crews climbed up to check on the truck driver. The two together pulled the girl out of the cement. Kelly said the girl wasn't breathing and thought her leg was snapped. They quickly got her to the sidewalk. Bowden used his fingers to scrape some cement out of the girl's mouth, while Kelly kept pouring water on the girl's head. At this moment, crews had already rescued the driver. The girl still wasn't breathing. The paramedic arrived. She quickly inserted a tube into her mouth, trying to suction out the cement. Bowden and Kelly anxiously waited. Finally, the girl regained consciousness, and everyone sighed with relief. Miles had just arrived in his backyard when he suddenly heard a faint cry for help. He followed the sound only to find that the voice was coming from a deep well.
911, what's your emergency?
Our little boy! He was in the backyard! We're putting in a pool and he fell into an open drain pipe!
Can you see him?
Yes, but we can't get to him!
Very soon, the firefighters arrived at the scene. To assess the situation underground, the captain grabbed a detector and immediately lowered it down. Jack was stuck in the narrow well walls. Bobby comforted him, telling him not to move. They would get him out as soon as possible, but the situation was not optimistic. Jack kept slipping further down. The more he slipped, the tighter he got stuck. He was at risk of positional asphyxia. Time was running out. Buck suggested using an excavator, but Bobby thought it was too risky. If the well walls collapsed, things would get worse. The safest option was to send someone down to rescue Jack, but the pipe was too narrow. An adult simply couldn't fit. At that moment, Miles volunteered to go down and save Jack. With the situation urgent, the firefighters had no choice but to let him try. After making all the preparations, they lowered Miles into the well upside down. Miles slowly moved toward Jack. As he descended, he reassured Jack not to be afraid. Everyone above was holding their breath, worried that something else might go wrong. Thankfully, Miles quickly reached Jack. He pulled out a safety rope and secured it tightly around Jack's body. Then he kicked the pipe to signal them. Buck immediately pulled the rope. Both Miles and Jack were finally pulled out. The crisis was over. And after this experience, their bond as brothers would only grow stronger. Miles didn't even mind reading Jack his favorite story anymore. The paramedics received a call from a woman who said her brother's mouth was stuck. She explained that they were just decorating the Christmas tree. To free his hands, the man casually put the ornament in his mouth, and now it had become stuck. No matter how hard he tried, the ornament wouldn't come out of his mouth. Brett didn't believe it. If it can go in, it can definitely come out. First, she asked the man to calm down, then instructed her partner Mikami to get pliers. Unfortunately, the surface of the ornament was too smooth, making it impossible to find a stress point, but Brett wasn't discouraged. She asked Mikami to get a yank or suction tip. However, no matter how many times she tried, she couldn't find any space to insert it. The man had obviously reached the limit of his patience.
Well, Merry Christmas to us.
Thank you.
You... Hurry, please, it's really bad. Everyone's supposed to put their bows down at the firing line while people go and retrieve their arrows, but some idiot kept fiddling with his and an arrow got away from him.
A serious accident occurred at the archery range. A man was lying on the ground. An arrow had shot straight through his neck. He tried to speak, but couldn't. Brett told him to stay calm. She understood he was having trouble breathing, but he needed to try to relax. Upon checking, his oxygen levels were normal, so he didn't need to be sedated. It was best to let him breathe on his own. Therefore, the arrow couldn't be removed. Kelly suggested rigging up a C-collar. Brett said the arrow was too long to transport him. They needed to cut the arrow short. Kelly instructed the team to get a whizzer saw and a tool bag. Brett asked why not just cut it off. Kelly explained it was cardon. Bolt cutters would crush it into razor-sharp splinters. The paramedic used a suction device. to clear the blood from the man's mouth. Firefighters clamped the arrow with pliers to minimize vibrations during cutting. But as soon as the saw touched the arrow,
Stop.
the man groaned in pain. Brett quickly called for a stop. The vibration was giving him subcutaneous emphysema. The bubbles were putting pressure on his throat. They had to prevent air from getting in. They used bandages to create figure-8 wraps. Then the firefighters resumed cutting. Finally, they successfully cut the arrow shaft, then placed him on the stretcher and transported him to the hospital.